In fact, it's not a philosophy. I'm always concerned about film which convey emotion. This is my leading, motivation. And also, I think movies are a good vehicle to know other cultures. I think so. You have noticed that many of the film I co-produced were film from abroad, not from France, originally from outside, like Caramel or Respiro. I think it's a very interesting vehicle to know the other culture, and to see that in all these cultures that you have the same fundamental value, which is emotion, and like music, you can travel the world with emotion. First of all, I'm not the sole producer. We were two producers. The second producer was the first one, in fact. I joined the project afterwards. The first producer is Virginie Lacombe. And in fact, one of her partners presented her as someone whose name is Noam Fitoussi, who is not from the movie business or not a writer, who in fact originated the idea at the beginning. It was a short story because the concept of switching babies at birth is not original, but placing the situation between Israeli and Palestinian people, of course, it's very specific. And I found this, so once they have this idea, she engaged an author who is Nathalie Saujon, who in fact wrote the first script, and then they looked for a director, and they found that Lorraine Levy would be perfectly adapted to this story, and Lorraine Levy liked the story very much, and she of course also participated to refine the script, but to introduce her own ideas, and then afterwards we had the script on Lorraine Levy, and this is at that stage that I involved myself. I put also my ideas, because a few of the idea of the script, I think could be reconsidered, and we discussed about that, and finally we were ready. Absolutely, and in fact, the intent is also to show something which, in my view, is fundamental, and which came from my reading of Krishnamurti, the famous Indian philosopher, who was saying that you are judging the world according to an image that you have of the world. The image that you have in your mind is created by your education, your religion, or what your experience and everything, and in fact, when you have conflict, in fact, it is not conflict between people, it is conflict between image that people have of the other, and you can fabricate the image, with the media and also propaganda, all sorts of manipulation, and once these two families are discovering the facts, they are also discovering that their image of the other does not correspond to the reality. And then they have to reassess and reconsider the image of the other. And this is one of the most powerful change, that is necessary to achieve peace. And this is also the inspiration of Lorraine Levy, because she was very inspired by a very famous Israeli writer whose name is Amos Oz, who was just explaining that you have to reconsider, to accept that you have to reassess the image of the other before being able to make peace. In fact, the way was to choose two families which are not extremists. Both of these families are more or less mid-range, moderate people, and they are not extremists in terms of social level. The Palestinians are not so poor, and the Israelis are not so rich. They are just middle-range people, and also they do not have an extremist vision of the other. They are open to the other. So this is the reason why we cope, and this is the vision of the vast majority of the people in this country. When we were in Israel, most of the Israelis want peace. It is obvious for them. And when we were discussing with the Palestinian people, they had exactly the same opinion, because the media are just showing the extremist situation and the conflicting situation. But all the people, this is what is very strange in this area, because the majority of people want peace, but they cannot make peace. In fact, I think it is a natural situation because for the mother, they are not losing their son. They are winning a new son, in a way. In fact, the father has a different vision because the son for the father are more sort of, for them it's the son who is a way of transmitting your values, religion, name and everything. So I think for the father, the first reaction is that they are losing their son, in a way. They have lost their son. So, and it takes time for them to reconsider the situation and not being afraid of having lost their son. It was liberate in Lorraine Levy's vision of the film because she wanted to see that this wall is impeding people to watch the other, to look at the other. The wall is seen as a negative vision, of course, from the Palestinian vision. It is seen as a protective vision on the Israeli side because for them it's not a wall, it's a security barrier, because it's true that after the wall was built, the number of explosion in Israel decreased very seriously, and it was built during a period where there were many security problems in Israel. You remember that time. But it's clear that for Lorraine Levy it was intentional to show the physical reality of the separation. But there was something also interesting to notice in this movie, that you were always passing from reality to fiction and fiction to reality. I give you just an example. The actress who is playing the mother, is Palestinian, of course, and she actually lives in Ramallah, in Palestine. So she proposed to her to, of course, stay in a hotel in Tel Aviv for the shooting. And she said, no, I prefer to stay at my home. I'm very nice. I have a nice home in Ramallah. So in fact, she had to wake up very early in the morning to pass through checkpoints, but real ones, to go to Israel. And then in the film, she had to play in scenes where she was passing or going to fake checkpoints, so it was fiction. And then she had to come back to her home and then go through a real checkpoint again. So it was for her. I found this situation so incredible, to go to reality, to fiction, and then to reality again on the same kind of story, Absolutely, I totally agree with you, and it would be a typical cliché where, of course, people were expecting that. And now, in fact, we see that there is a sincerity of feeling between these two boys. In fact, to be honest, the very original story that was written by the first author, there was a sort of attack, from one of the Palestinian people who were taking this opportunity to introduce some bombs in Israel. But Lorraine Levy didn't like this, because she said suddenly we come back to the cliché story. And she wanted to modify that and to change it in this way, to be a positive. But the story afterwards is not ending, because you have to imagine how would be the life of this family in the future. And for your information, we have received proposition from some U.S. production company who wants to make a TV series on this story, because they want to imagine the life of these two families afterwards. I don't know. I think it contributes in a way, because films create comments, on curiosity. Of course, for some people who have open mind, who wants to listen to something else. Of course, it will change and it will modify their vision. For people who are extremists or they don't want to, they are not interested in anything, so they would not go to watch the film. So for them, it would not change anything. But I think for the people in the middle, who have an open mind, of course, it could contribute to their change of the vision of the situation. And especially, you have some vision of Israel, which is very peaceful, which is a reality. When you see the beaches on Tel Aviv, they are like this,